Hey, thanks everyone for coming. We're going to start with board introductions. I'm Clayton Hopkins, and I'm the president of the board.
John Tanner, board member.
Gregory Schneider, board secretary.
Jessica Jarrett, board treasurer.
Matt Walker, board member.
April Sauer, board member.
John Allen, board member.
First on the agenda is discussion and approval of minutes from the 12/18 regular meeting. Give a motion to approve.
I will.
Second. Any discussion? No discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Next up on the agenda is public comment. And earlier, there was a list passed around, and you were asked to star your name if you wish to speak. There's an opportunity to sign in and put a star by their name. How many do we have?
6.
Okay.
So do you want to do a time limit for 3 minutes? Or?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to start a timer.
Well, first I want to review
Yes, go ahead.
the procedure for public comment. If your name is starred, you will be asked to make your comment. As we've said, since we have so many, we're going to limit the comments to 3 minutes. We're going to start a timer. I want to review some of the guidelines for the public comment. Again, the comment should focus on issues and not individuals. You should be sure that the comment that you are making is appropriate for this setting, meaning for the board of directors. And yeah, okay, so that's good. So who's first up?
Stephanie McCurdy.
Good evening. Thank you guys for serving our school. I'd like to briefly recap the timeline of communication our families received this year regarding materials fees, donations, and the school's financial state. Beginning in summer of 2019, we did not receive any communication or invoices for materials fees for the upcoming school year. This is our 6th year at the school, and every summer we receive invoices that were previously understood as mandatory. In the fall, an email was finally sent stating that materials fees are not required but are welcomed, not really emphasizing the dire need the school was actually facing. No numbers were offered explaining the cost of annual materials and what had been donated thus far. In other words, there was no sense of urgency. In late fall, sporadic invoices were sent out for these fees. We have 3 children attending, and they came weeks apart. Again, during these weeks, no cost or donation analysis was provided, and there was no sense of urgency. Over winter break, we started to receive emails stressing how the school was in significant debt and was extremely underfunded. The communication also stressed that we were barely making a dent in the materials cost for the year, and that we needed all the donations possible to tackle the deficit. Simply stated, the communication has been inconsistent and confusing. In years past, we haven't been able to confirm if the money we put towards materials fees was actually being used for the classrooms or for other unrelated school financial obligations. All this to say, numerous families are reluctant to offer more donations in light of the school's current financial position. Saying we're transparent doesn't necessarily make it so. In talking with parents in the community, I think you'll find our school's current state feels quite muddy and unclear based on the emails we've received. Our family is going to donate between $250 to more than $1,000 a year without any sort of real goal or update. Are the donations going to really make a difference in the grand scheme of things? Or will they become blended into miscellaneous payments for debts too large to recover from? These are valid questions. I'd also like to mention that we've received 0 acknowledgement from our previous materials fee and tax credit donations, both of which we've made each year we've attended. Basic acknowledgement is not something to be dismissed. It's a simple gesture that should be put into practice in any environment where donations are accepted. We want to help and support our children in the school, our beloved teachers and their students, but the lack of true transparency has greatly impacted our trust in how the school's funds are being managed. Which begs the question, Why do we not yet have an experienced administrator directing our school, and preferably someone with professional fundraising experience? Or at the very least, a donations officer on staff. Someone whose sole responsibility is fundraising outside of the school. Is this a priority yet? Our community is so unique, we believe many organizations would be eager to write donations off their taxes each year. While some salary investment is required up front, the right person would more than pay for themselves. As it stands currently, it appears the parent community is responsible for bearing the weight of financial stability. Parents are inundated with constant requests for both time and money, overwhelmed to the point where many don't even pay attention. Prioritizing hiring an experienced school director, or at least a dedicated donations officer, responsible for securing funding from outside our community would do wonders for morale and involvement. Thank you for your time.
Michael Reed.
Good evening, everyone. It's my first time at a board meeting, so I'll try to stay focused here. I'm just here to really express concern by myself and many other parents about decisions that have been made here at the school, seemingly bad decisions in our aspect, and I won't get into specifics since we're not supposed to get into specifics, but there's, how can I put this? Staff members are not treated equally or looked upon equally.
A better way to say it is that it would appear that there is inconsistency in treatment.
It appears there is an inconsistency in treatment when looked upon how staff members serve our children, whether they have teaching certificates or not. I'm just going to leave that there. A lot of us are concerned at what's happening and what my opinion is the heart of the school. There's many important parts of the school. The heart of the school, the garden. Even today we saw things that were removed. It just seems like there's a lot of things going on over there that's very distressful to a lot of us parents. A lot of us have put time and effort into the garden, would like to know what's going on and why. It just seems very important. Wondering how much closer we are to becoming an accredited Waldorf school. Also, is the garden still biodynamic? I've heard that we may take out the compost area that extend the field. Just curious about different changes at the school, and there's a lot of changes happening fast. So a lot of us parents are concerned by that, and then of course the financial end of it as well. That's my concern.
I didn't mention this at the top, but I want to reiterate that the board cannot respond to public comment or discuss things that are not on the agenda. So I'm not ignoring your questions, I just cannot respond.
Kelly Schlink.
I've also not commented much, so let me know if I'm going too far. So I wasn't planning on coming today until I saw, the vines in the garden being destroyed. So I've always been in the classrooms. I have a very long history of grandmothers, mothers, sisters who are all teachers. So I get it that parents can be jerks. My mom is a public school administrator. She's a principal of an elementary school, and she gets publicly shamed regularly. Like, it's traumatic. She's changed as a person. It's horrible. I get that. But the resentment of parents here, like, I've never been in a school where I felt less welcome, and where Waldorf was supposed to be welcoming. And I echo her sentiments of like the fundraising. I know what's been happening with the fundraising, and everybody on this board needs to participate for it to go anywhere. Even if you had a fundraiser on staff, like, you all would need to respond to emails and fully participate. We need a director who fully participates if you're ever going to bring in money, instead of just putting it. It felt like it's been blamed on the parents when there's other avenues for generating as much money as we apparently need, so much that we had to let go of our gardener, which felt more like a personal decision and political than it was a financial decision, because, you know, we're paying for this garden consultant and we're gonna pay unemployment, like, we're not saving a lot of money here, we're just getting rid of a person.
Not trying to cut you off, but you're straying into specifics about
Okay.
people, just try and keep it on issues. So the garden is fine, and.
The garden is not fine, it's being ripped
No, I
apart.
mean, when you're talking about,
okay,
just
okay.
to say, yeah.
I think that there's a void in leadership at our school, and this is the core of the issue. I mean, it's finances that we can solve together, but there's a void in leadership, and leaving teachers to make leadership decisions, like, gives you all kinds of, I mean, at any school, it's gonna cause, like, they're gonna work off of resentments, they're gonna work off their own egos, instead of keeping a vision for the school in mind. Like, that is what an administrator and a principal is supposed to do, and they're supposed to see their employees, their positives and negatives, they're supposed to see, you know, their virtues and their vices, and be the moderator there of everybody, so that they work together for a vision, and instead giving it to teachers who are
Okay,
working off of ego.
I'm gonna stop you again and say a better way for you to say that so that it's not a personal attack is that a structure consistent with these kinds of things, I think would
There
be
could be a
more
better,
helpful.
yes, okay, there's a better structure that could be in place, namely hiring, I call on the board to actively start searching for a Waldorf principal for our school, a headmaster, somebody who can be the person to tie us all together. Okay, we feel very removed from the LDC, we can't contact them, we can't ask them questions, like, I mean, my son's teacher is on the LDC, and I ask her questions, and it's always, I mean, it's a group thing, so one person can't tell you the full truth, you know? And I know for fundraising efforts, like, we need this person to tie the board, to tie the parents, to tie the school together. So I call on you guys to find a school administrator who can operate doing all the duties.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I skipped Mario Casillas. You're next.
That's probably a good decision on your part. I will be succinct. I'm concerned, just like everyone else. I think everyone here is committing their time because they care about the school. And I think what's important is we work together as a group. I have a lot of concerns about a lot of issues, but I'm here to learn about what goes on here before I'm ready to, I mean, I have a lot of ideas. It's not the moment to throw out. Our issues standing are, one is attendance. I don't know if this is the time to brainstorm right now for ideas, but that's a serious issue because that impacts our funding. We have to understand, I live 3 miles down the street, and it's hard for me to get my child here at 8:10. So I can't imagine for a parent who lives 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, or more, and we know that that's the reality of our school, of people driving and committing that time to get their kids on time. So maybe we seriously consider having a later start time as a remedy to increase attendance and tardiness. Again, I don't think this is, not understanding how this stuff goes, I just wanted to make my presence known. I look to attend every meeting and become more involved and exciting that we have a lot of participation. And hopefully the participation increases and we can ease the burden on everyone, because I was part of parent council last year, and you see the same faces in parent council, you see the same faces here, and there's got to be more of a commitment from the school than the same people who've been carrying it on their backs. So I think it's a good start.
Adeline Pereira.
Adeline Pereira.
Adeline.
Hello. Hi. Boy, it seems like everyone stole my thunder now. Actually, my one and only comment I would like to make is it's about damn time to finally see a posting for a Waldorf trained director on Waldorf Today on our website. Not even our website. You think we would be putting up that we need teachers, that we need people in the office on our website, but it's not being posted. So it makes us all feel like maybe it's not going to be around anymore. We're all left feeling, Are we all burning up here, ready for the ashes to come? Anyhow, hopefully changes happen soon, or our attendance and our enrollment will dwindle even more.
Thank you.
Barb Cunningham.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak publicly. I am a parent that, like many, want what is best for the greatest good of our school. I humbly say actions speak louder than words. Where is the job posting for the Waldorf Executive Director? Where is the feedback survey that was supposed to go out to take the true pulse of the whole community? Anonymous, unadulterated, unfiltered. The most important thing is figuring out what is the most important thing, and please let us not forget this K through 12 Waldorf-inspired public charter is the only school like it in the nation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Harper Rose.
Sorry to be reading from my phone, typical Waldorf teacher fashion. In this time of change, we may all be reacting instead of acting. When we come from a place of uncertainty, fear can drive us all to behave in ways that for which we may later admonish ourselves. I urge us all to look within, to be the positivity we need in the world, for our community, and more importantly, the children in our care, and to support the teachers entrusted with the education of the children by standing behind the decisions made for the overall health of our beloved school. It is important that we are all mindful of what we speak and how this affects the spirit and morale of our school. I urge us all to take a step back, to find our proper place, whether that be contributing to balancing the budget, ensuring consistent attendance, which is vital to a living education, or through direct support of the teachers and administration and capacities with which we are gifted. In this vein, I would like to offer you a verse from Rudolf Steiner. Faithfulness. Let your loyalty to another human being come about in this way. There will be moments, quickly passing by, when he will seem to you filled and illumined by the true primal image of his spirit. Then can come, yes, will come, long stretches of time when your fellow being seems clouded, even darkened. But learn at these times to say to yourself, the Spirit will strengthen me. I will remember the true, unchanging image that I once saw. Nothing at all, neither deception nor disguise, can take it away from you. Struggle again and again for the true picture that you saw. The struggle itself is your faithfulness. And in those efforts to be faithful and to trust, a human being will come close to another, as if with an angel's power of protection. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it for public comment? Okay. Next up, is the executive director report. Did everybody have a chance to read the executive director report? Are there any specific questions about the executive director report? No?
I have a question. It's always about buildings with me, I'm sorry. Regarding, facilities and maintenance, you talked about needing to check, for mold, but I'm wondering if we have any more information about the farmhouse, about what happened with the leaks, with the door, anything was repaired, just to kind of get an update.
There hasn't been any repairs made in terms of sealing that area that we still last. We do need to schedule because of that water intrusion, for the safety of the children
Christie, is there anything you want to highlight in your report?
Well, I was actually gonna summarize, from all of the reports, not only the acting executive director, but the admin from the high school.
That would be good. Did we get those?
I didn't for them.
Okay,
I just realized I didn't, so that's why I
Okay.
wanted to highlight them.
okay.
My apologies. So for administration, currently verifying open enrollment applications in preparation for the lottery. So far, we have 163 applicants for the 2020-2021 school year, including private program. Currently, 9 of those applicants are for the 9th grade and 1 is for the 11th. We are getting ready to roll over the wait lists for this next year, and we are in preparation for the re-enrollment of current students for next year. I believe the withdrawal survey information was shared with the treasurer, is that correct, Jessica?
I did not know. She sent the enrollment report, but
Okay.
she didn't send the survey, but we should all have the link to that.
Okay, good. Student support services, we're getting ready to do our next round of Galileo benchmark testing. AZ Merit is coming up in a couple of months. So we're getting all of the materials and training ready for that for our staff. For the high school, we're expecting 2 new students to join this month. We had 1 withdrawal while another joined, so it was a wash. There is a high school information night planned for late February, looking to invite students and parents from at least 10 nearby schools that go through 8th grade, as well as DMS families of grades 6 through 8. We're anticipating recruitment of 25 to 30% of the informational night potential students. Our goal is to increase our enrollment to 20 students in the 9th grade for next year. We're also offering shadow opportunities for the current 8th graders during February, Communications to the 8th grade class, parents, and the teacher will be distributed by the end of this week. After the students whose parents approve of their visit, shadow, we will send out a survey of their experiences, which will include an indicator of the likelihood of their attending the high school in the fall.
So, do you have that where you can send it to us for review, that what you just read about the high school? 'Cause that was one of the things we talked about. And, okay. And is there a team leading that effort and gonna do that, because there's some anticipated conversions, and so how are they gonna, is there a plan to measure that? Meaning, you're gonna go have people come from 10 high schools, and you anticipate that you're gonna convert so that's all being,
We're gonna track it. Mhm.
okay,
Follow up and measure that, yes.
okay,
And yes, there is a team
okay,
between the high school wheelchairs and admin and the LDC.
okay. So, in the last time we spoke, and this is going back to Michael Martin, that there were gaps in our offering that he was working on. Have we addressed those as we reach out to 8th graders to come to the high school?
I'm sorry, gaps in our offering and what?
Yeah, around counseling and college readiness and all of those
Yes.
things that we're on is,
Yes, so we have Paula Cummings, who has been serving and filling that gap.
okay,
Mhm.
okay,
And will continue to do so through the year.
okay, great. Any other questions?
The report talks about the Department of Health Services coming next week. Can you just comment a little bit about?
They're actually not coming, we are going to them. This is the wrap-up of their annual licensing and inspection of our private care space. And there were some violations that had not been addressed for several years, and so we've addressed those now. And so we're going to meet with them to wrap it up and get certified.
Okay. And so that's what we expect out of this, some certification then from?
The continuation of our licensing,
Okay.
yes.
What's the nature of the violations?
Sorry.
Did they get a report on that?
I'm sorry, if, in this meeting, you can't speak unless you're invited
Okay,
to speak.
all right, it's good to know the rules.
Okay, sorry, I should
I
have said that
will
up
have, I'm warning you, Clayton, I'm gonna have many missteps.
front. It's
I'm here to
okay.
help. I'm
Okay,
in good spirit. I'm here to
I
help.
appreciate it, I should have said that up front. I
No
apologize.
worries. Even if you did, I still might have been.
Okay, any other questions?
It's nice to, it's not a question, it's a comment. It's nice to see a lot of activity around 100th Day. And the picnic lunch. Really wonderful to see the school and the community coming together.
Yeah, the campus is excited for it, students and teachers alike.
Okay, so if we can move on to, I have another. Does parent council have anything to report?
Yes.
Okay,
We have our, January workday was canceled. February workday is possibly canceled. If it is canceled, we are looking into changing that to a rummage sale instead. And then, the parent council leadership is meeting with the, LBC tomorrow to work on trying to, see how we can help bring the community back, community together. Winter fair, we had our winter fair wrap up the other day. Our Humble Hive unfortunately had to be canceled. It was supposed to be this Saturday, so, we'll still have the one in February and then one in March. And that's the third Saturday. Our book club, is on Zoom this Friday evening and then in person on January 31st in the morning. And then our s'mores bonfire is January 31st in the evening. Our next parent council meeting is on February 4th in the evening, so 6:30.
is there a board member who can attend? So we had two hands that went up.
If you wanna do it, I'll push you on the other one.
Okay, Jessica's up.
If for some reason I can't vote,
Okay.
You said 6:30, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, any questions for parent council? Okay.
Is that for or from? I heard for.
From the board
Oh.
for parent council.
All right, service mark update. Matt.
Yeah, so, I'll try to provide perhaps a bit more explanation and context, just so that we're all working from the same place here. So, Clayton and I had spoken in early December. He brought me up to speed,
Mhm.
shared documents, we talked about the background. I then spoke with Liz Bevan. We exchanged emails over the holidays. She provided me with some information broadly, and I wanted to discuss it with the board before taking next steps. So I'll give some background. Ms. Bevan is president of the board of the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education, the Alliance. She walked me through the background of the Alliance and how they work with the Association of Waldorf Schools of North America, the association. So there's the Alliance, there's the association. The association is the umbrella organization. The Alliance, again, in general terms, the Alliance is focused on public Waldorf. So the association, the umbrella org, owns the name and trademark rights to the term Waldorf in the context of educational services like schools. But the association granted to the Alliance the right to create a membership program for schools. And that membership program includes a few things, but it also includes the right to use the term Waldorf in different ways, depending on your membership status. So it's the Alliance that manages this, which is why we're dealing with the Alliance, not the association. So the Alliance membership program has 3 levels, and they reflect the stage that a school's development is in. And the main differentiators between the 3 membership levels are fees. Fees differ. Second thing is the level of interaction with the Alliance and access to the Alliance and its resources. And the third thing is, as I mentioned, precisely how you can use the term Waldorf in a public way. So the 3 levels are the initiative level. That's when you're brand new. The school's either just an idea or it's just getting started. The membership fee is $5 per student. You get access to some Alliance materials, and then you can say that you are registered with the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education. That's how you get to use Waldorf in a public way, according to their membership levels. The next level is developing level. That's when you're evolving as a school. Fee is $10 per student. You get access to and the opportunity to participate in committee work with the Alliance and some other things. And then you can say that you are a developing member of the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education. And then the third level is full member level. It's when you're a fully mature school. Fee is the same of $10 per student. There's a lot more interaction between faculty and staff of the school and the staff of the Alliance. And then once you reach that status, you can say that the school is a full member of the Alliance for Public Waldorf Education. So again, in terms of using the name, at the initiate level, you can say you're registered with the Alliance. At the developing level, you can say you're a developing member of the Alliance. And then as a full member, you can say you're a full member of the Alliance. When you are a full member, you may also apply to use the name Waldorf in the name of the school. But that's not automatic from simply reaching full member status. What Ms. Bevan told me is there are only 2 schools in the U.S. that are full members. We had applied basically to become the 3rd. There are a number of criteria that you have to meet in order to obtain full membership status. Ms. Bevan acknowledged that some of the criteria are objective and clear, and others are subjective, matter of opinion. At its bottom, though, the Alliance wants to be sure that the school has matured to the point where the 7 core principles of public Waldorf education are substantially integrated throughout the school. Again, some of the criteria are straightforward, like you would have a full and public disclosure that the primary philosophy of the school is based on those principles. That's a yes or no. That's an easy one. Some are not, such as you must evidence through self-study and peer site review that all 7 core principles are incorporated in the life of the school in a way that can be described as having met or being exemplary. So again, that's going to require an opinion. So it's not quite as clear-cut as one might like. You just sort of do these things and check boxes and you qualify. There's a level of engagement. There'd be a level of engagement between the school and the Alliance. So when DMS had applied to become a full member, what Ms. Bevan told me was at the time that this was happening, DMS was experiencing some of the issues that we've talked about over the past handful of board meetings. And the Alliance essentially had some questions and concerns. They were concerned by the departure of some Waldorf-trained teachers. They weren't certain the role of the interim executive director. Is that a permanent position? How's that impacting the culture of the school? They weren't sure how the voice of the faculty gets heard in school affairs. I'm not sure they know about the LDC and the role that it plays here. And they were uncertain that the curriculum and teacher development was firmly aligned to the 7 principles. I strongly suspect it is, it's just the Alliance wasn't entirely sure. She also acknowledged that there may have been some communication gaps on her end. So I think communications just sort of fell apart between DMS and the Alliance. But she offered to help, which is terrific. And so that's the background, and that's where we are right now. So I have a number of questions, such as where does this topic fall on our list of priorities as a board and as a school? Do we have the bandwidth to take on the issues, the work that would have to be done to demonstrate to the Alliance that we are meeting all of those criteria for full membership? Are we open to having the Alliance's help? I would imagine we are, but we want to confirm that. Things of that sort.
It's interesting. So we had substantially met all of that criteria, and were under the impression that it was just a matter of them having a board meeting to stamp it. So
We were told that in March of 2018.
yes. So the other communication that came back was, you seem to be in a little bit of transition, send us a report about what you're doing, and we can work this out. So we did that and didn't hear for 9 months, maybe.
Hold on. In April of 2019, they finally provided the conditional. What concerns me is that you were told that we applied for this around the time that the previous executive director was let go. And I'm looking at a board report from March of 2017, which was over 2 years before that, where we had already been working on this. So I'm a little concerned about some of the factuality.
So your question about where it is from a priorities standpoint, it is something that we'd like to resolve sooner than later. We have a substantial amount of time and money invested in this. So I think it's appropriate just to have a direct question, what do they want? What do we need to do for them to be satisfied? I mean, and then go from there. Somebody have any thoughts about that?
If their latest objection, because, everything had been done, we were ready for approval, and then it seemed like they came up with this, well, you're in transition with leadership, and they didn't know where that would go.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to be the most recent.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's gonna go away until we have things set in place.
Well, but I think that's why you asked the question, what is it going to
Oh,
take?
I agree with you. I
Right,
think
because-
that's a good question to ask them, exactly what is it you want, so we know exactly what they're working
Yes.
for. Because a lot of it may be very easy, but I don't think they're gonna give us that final stamp until we have the transition fully done in place and.
Perhaps.
But yeah, exactly.
I think you nailed it when you said there's a lot of subjectivity to it.
Yeah. And so, I don't know for sure, but I get the sense that you'd sort of be starting at starting from scratch again,
Well, we're not gonna do that.
which would be frustrating.
It would be, because I have, about 100 documents of the self-study that I could send to you, so yeah, we're not, I don't think we have to do that. Does anybody have any thoughts about service? Any other thoughts?
After clarifying what it is they actually want, it might be good if you can get them to commit to some kind of timeline of, okay, this is what you want, we're gonna get it to you by this date, and then how soon can you act on it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've been going through this process for several years at this point now.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that it's about exchanging documents.
No, I don't think it
Yeah,
is either.
I think it's about, they wanna visit,
Yeah,
for instance.
yeah,
Yeah, which is great.
And they've done that.
Yeah,
yeah.
Our dues are coming up in March, so we probably need to figure this out sooner than later, so we can decide what to do from there, from that perspective.
The
You
dues
might
were-
wanna put that,
Yeah,
mention that when you communicate with her.
the dues we're paying would reflect we are either a developing or full member.
Yeah.
We're paying $10 a
Yeah.
student, so, yeah. There's,
Have we been paying the dues?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're-
it's
we're-
due again in March.
Before we've been given the stamp of approval,
Correct.
and that's part of the process.
I can't stress enough how this was a done deal more than 2 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, none of this was fuzzy at all. It was done. So, okay.
And is there somebody from the school who would be on point for me to work with? In the administration?
Can administration raise their hand?
Writing notes.
Thank you, Krista, for giving me
Mike, you
that.
gotta turn it
I'll get you what I need.
Laura?
We said as part of the first round and met with them and did all the reviews and all the questions that you'd like to.
That's true. Laura might be a good resource.
And I believe we still have all of that documentation.
It's on the
drive.
hive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura, your last name?
Thanks, Laura. Okay, Matt, do you feel,
I'm good.
Okay.
Yep, appreciate the input.
thank you. All right, next up are financials.
Yep, okay, now 1 second. I sent the financials to everybody, and anybody, I mean, I have a thing, if I can make it work. The problem is, and I'm sorry, I don't have a cord that will connect the thing to the computer, so I don't, this is really. Harper, do you have yours, your computer, can you, nothing? Sorry.
I have the projector, which has an HDMI, if that's helpful.
Yeah, no, I don't know, because it'll still be as small as the screen, that was our problem before.
What?
I need it,
I have a laptop.
but you have an Apple? It won't work, I'm having the same problem. I just don't have a good cord for it. So I don't know if there's any way to.
Use it table.
Okay, make something happen.
Very
Okay.
landscape instead of portrait.
Well, it's not entirely on there.
Well, if you move the projector closer.
Closer? Sorry, there we go. Okay, so here's my report. Sorry, my back is to everybody, I can't do everything at once. For the month ending, December, the net profit is negative $86,408.10.
There were bills that were not previously entered, and we're now all up to date with entering and have a better understanding of the financial situation. If we're able to collect the past due fees and material donations, we will not be in a negative profit. Okay, my language, sorry, was poor. The net profit for the year is minus 87,774. The charter enrollment is currently, as of the report I had at the end of December, 325, which is 1.5 over budget, and the private program is under by 5.6. And that has to do with how many kids each kid counts for in the private program. And I have to be honest, I don't understand the details of that and did not have an opportunity to ask Dina. The current past due balances for aftercare, private pre-K, private kinder, and circus club are, as you can see, over $41,000. Some people owe in excess of $5,000, and we're just not getting a response from many of them. The material donations, which we did not ask for in the beginning of the year, because many parents were concerned about us asking for them at all, because the state says that parents are not required to pay them, so that they were not sent out at that time. We had thought that the community would continue to pay them, even though we couldn't require them. This is the old version. I'm really sorry. I just noticed that. I'm having a hard time. Give me 1 second, because I may talk about something for a second, because this isn't working. I'm sorry, Clayton. Give me a minute.
Okay. You want to talk about the audit while you get yourself
You can talk about the audit while I get myself
Okay. Everyone had a chance to see the audit. I did get some comments back about it. I just want to state, as I stated before, the audit was not good, but it was not we anticipated that it was going to be a problem because of the nature. We had the same audit firm for 17 years, and we had never taken it out to bid, and we did not feel that we were getting the most robust audit from that particular firm, and that's why we made the switch. And so we anticipated that it was going to not be great, and it was not. We still need to figure out the implications of the audit and having one that is that was the opinion that was given. We may have to do some additional reporting to the charter board from a financial standpoint on a regular basis. Some of our loans some covenants might kick in and require some additional reporting and some other things, and we don't know that yet because the audit was just provided to those groups. So it is unfortunate, but it was a pain we had to feel in order to get things back on track.
Problems are gold. That's what we teach in my agency, and that is the truth. We shouldn't apologize.
I understand, and I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'm really gonna have to ask you to stop.
You know what, Clay, I understand,
Okay,
but like I said, I'm just a passionate person, and I'm not gonna rein that in.
okay. So, any specific questions about the audit? Anything that we want to bring out? Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Previously, the board knew there were outstanding debts. We attempted to refinance, and that was unsuccessful. We were not aware that our problem was not cash flow. We are now aware, sorry, there's a misspelling there.
It was also decreased income, decreased donations, and spending more than we have. We have a full picture now, and we will need to make hard decisions if we can't find a way to increase our revenue through donations and by having strong enrollment for 2020. Now that we have a full picture, we can manage the challenge. Our goal is for the community members to come forward with solutions and ideas. We are at risk of losing some of the best things at DMS, and we will have to work together to save as much as we can. And we wanted to say thank you to these community members for the donations that they have provided thus far this year. And if I missed anyone, I apologize. I will hunt it down and correct it. Here's our profit and loss. Most everything, that would be on the budget page, but here it is for the year, starting in July. I'm going to go down to honestly what is important, and that is the net income. Every month except for the month that we were not in school was a positive. I'm sorry, it was a negative, that was a positive. If we look at the budget versus the actual, we are on target most everywhere except for the total income, which is at right about 50%, which is where we are. But if we look at the federal revenue, which is 86%, that has been our applications for special education money. So we've almost exhausted that source of revenue for the year. All our costs are on target with our budget. Here's our cash balance over the past couple years. And our net income is missing 1 month because of a change in accounting software. I was unable to access the old number. I can get it in the future, I just don't have it at the moment. Our enrollment each month for the past few years. So I was speaking with a couple parents this week, and I realized that a lot of people don't understand exactly what the state does provide for us. Per child, we get the exact same money as a public school does. We do not get any money for facilities or transportation. Transportation obviously isn't a challenge for us, but facilities is. That's the mortgages, any upkeep on the buildings, any repairs, all the mold work we've had done, children putting rocks in the toilet paper, or in the toilets and having to pay plumbers. We had the roofs redone a couple of years. None of that stuff comes from the state. That we have to find other sources of funding for. This is per month. Our approximate income from the state is $210,000. Our payroll after the recent layoffs is approximately $154,000 of that, and I will be able to provide better numbers on that next month. Approximately $25,000 a month goes to benefits for our wonderful employees, and we've got our mortgage and our special education. It's a little bit less than that for special education, but we are behind, so it's running at that right now. The following items are not covered in any of that, and we've got negative $179 a month already. So as you can see, most things aren't being covered. If everyone, and I know not everyone can, but if everyone paid the suggested donation for their children for the materials fees, it would be approximately $109,000. Thus far, we have received 10. We purchased the materials, but that had to come out of our general funds, and the materials are expensive. For example, Crayola crayons are 67 cents for 8 crayons, stock mar 20. Some of the items that are covered in these material costs are paints, modeling materials, crayons, colored pencils, watercolor paper, main lesson books.
This is our suggested material donations, and as someone did mention, it's taken a while for those invoices to go out once we started, and that is because I'm doing them at night. The fundraising committee is working on securing corporate donors, grants, and other income sources, and we're going to continue to work towards collecting the past due debts and collecting the materials for these donations. And that's where we're at.
And Jessica, want to have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I was at a parent council meeting where some parents were concerned about the garden and having Maya work with us. Can you please clarify what, if anything, we're paying Maya?
We are not paying Maya.
At a recent board meeting, we said that we would set up separate bank accounts for parent council, for fundraising, things of that sort. Have we been able to do that?
I have been added as a signer to the bank account, but interestingly enough, Chase does not feel that the treasurer should have anything to do with the money. So the president or secretary must do it. We do have a savings account, and since November, all restricted funds, be it parent council, the winter fair, any donations that the classes have had specific to them, field trip money that were specific to a class, field trip costs that were just specific to a class, have been tracked on a spreadsheet. I've confirmed, because I'm doing the entering, but I also double checked, QuickBooks matches my spreadsheet, and that money has all been put into a savings account and is only being withdrawn when one of those funds needs the money. So no, but it is still being set
We're
aside.
tracking it, but we haven't said, or is the plan still though, even though perhaps?
At some
we can't do
point,
it?
yes. But I have been, I think most people know, I have been doing most of the bookkeeping, all of the bookkeeping as my second job, I like to call it. So I am personally handling that at the present time and making sure that it is being done.
Yeah, it's a ton of work for you.
It's a great report, Jessica, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
This
Well,
was really comprehensive.
yeah, and that was very helpful to walk through it like that, I thought.
Will that be made available to all of us?
Can you put it in the binder? It will be in the office, in the binder, in the board binder, and you can request a copy of that. I'm sorry.
It looked like you tried to put together a cash flow projection for the rest of the year too.
I do have that,
Okay.
and I have shared that with the board.
Any other questions?
I'll hold the rest of mine for when we talk about planning.
Okay. Do we want to talk about fundraising efforts and status of that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we, since the beginning of December, have raised through donations about $15,000, I believe, as of a day or two ago. And we need a lot more, as Jessica's report just highlighted. The good news is that we have some tools in place now that we've been looking for a long time. We have, for the first time, a list of people who have donated to the school or given money to the school. We're in the process of reaching out to them and thanking them. If you haven't been thanked yet, let me thank you publicly here tonight for donating your materials contribution to the school. And we would really love it if you could do it again. If you haven't already done that, it would be extremely helpful. So within the next week or two, anyone who has previously donated should be getting an email, or donated within the last year, getting an email thanking them for their donation and inviting them to contribute again, or to think of referring that email to other people who might be willing to contribute. We're also brainstorming about how to get corporate donors involved. That is very much a work in progress, very preliminary stages on that, but it's a work in progress. My employer contributed a token sum, which was a first step in the right direction, but we need many other people's employers to also contribute, and just corporate donors generally. So we are making progress. It's just taking longer than we needed to, but we're gaining ground, and with the momentum we have and the good team I think we have in place of people who are eager to help and actively helping take steps. Tyson Schlink is one community member. We also have several board members who have contributed, April and Jessica, and the acting executive director, Christy, has helped by giving us information we need. So we are slowly making progress. I have every bit of hope that by this time next year, we are going to be on way more solid ground as far as fundraising goes. And I hope to, report 10x the number of contributions by a year from today, if not a whole heck of a lot more. So that framework is being built, and we're working on it. Anyone has questions, happy to answer.
I just want to share a couple of things. So since our last meeting, I got permission from Reg Madison for photography. Everyone should have gotten those albums. If you did not, please let me know, and I'll try and send out another link to you. So she gave us permission to use her professional photos in things like, newsletters or requesting donations, even like high school administration could use them for information night, things like that, just to have some professional photos. And there's enough of just like everything. There's field trips, there's winter fair, there's the curriculum room. They're beautiful, and I just think that would help us to just have things look nice. If we're going to go corporate and ask for donations, it needs to look professional. And the other thing I was going to share, now I've lost it. I reached out to Christy to get some statistics so that we could add those to some of our just paperwork that we're sending out to solicit donations, so that people are aware of the students that we have and who we're serving and what our brand is and what our goal is and what your money would go to. So all of those things are in the works to go along with all of this.
Thanks for the report. Thanks for your efforts on that. Under the budget and finance, I wanted to talk about hiring a part-time bookkeeper or accountant. We appreciate all the work that Jessica does. I mean, we understand that it's not sustainable. And we should move sooner than later to find a person to take over that work and to get us consistently doing the work the way we're supposed to do it, because we have another audit that's going to come up in 6 months. So I sent out just some thoughts that I had about the skills and responsibilities. Does anybody have any thoughts about that, or the thought about hiring this person?
Are we able to afford it?
I don't think we can. I don't think we can not do it. I mean, if you.
I mean, I understand
Okay.
the current is not sustainable.
As a side note, as the person doing it, while I appreciate the concern over whether or not I can continue to do it, I have committed to doing it for the balance of the year. It is what I do for a living. Nobody wants someone to replace me more than me, except maybe my kid and my husband. But I usually do it after they're asleep, so probably not even them. I don't see how we can justify it right now when we have someone willing to volunteer to do it in the position we're in. If we come into donors that change our situation, then I am 100% jumping on it. But I personally can't justify that myself right now.
Okay, I'm gonna tell a story. When the balance of the time that I've been on the board, the financial management has been a question mark for me. And when we have raised the issue about doing different things as far as the financial activity is concerned, we can't afford it, it's not the right time, we really like this person, we want to do this we want to give this person an opportunity or a chance, we want to, make peace in the community by doing these kinds of things. And so there's always a reason not to do it. And I would submit that the reason that we are in the position that we are in with our audit is because we made those decisions when we should have made the decision that we would prioritize a professional accounting activity for the school. So I can appreciate that Jessica's willing to continue, and I think that's great. But 6 months ago, we've got these two people and everything's gonna be fine and everything's gonna be great, and it wasn't. So I really don't, I think that this is, that we bite the bullet and do what we need to do to make sure that the financial management of the school is being done the way that it should be.
And it's not an indictment.
Absolutely not.
In any way, shape, or form.
It absolutely is not. And because what I'm not talking about is there's the process of doing the day-to-day work and making sure that the bills get paid, but then there's also the process of compliance, and there's a process of record keeping, there's a process of doing things in a way that are consistent with generally accepted accounting principles. And unless you have that effort on site doing it on a regular basis, then you cannot be sure that all of those things are happening the way that they're supposed to.
I mean, I'd like the idea for a few different reasons. One is, hey, to have a full plan to get out of the financial crisis that we're in, a key component certainly has got to be somebody who works at the school and this is their job.
Yes.
Start to finish.
Right.
Again, not an indictment. So that's one. It just feels like it's part of a solid, reasonable, feasible plan to return to financial stability.
Right.
I also worry that as a board, we're supposed to play an oversight role, an oversight function.
Right.
But you're not supposed to do and have the oversight of be the same person.
Right.
It could introduce conflicts. So I worry about it from that perspective as well. But I think it's a fair practical problem of can we pay anybody? Or is there somebody else willing to volunteer?
I still go back to, we're a $3.2 million organization. You don't have your accounting work done by a volunteer.
Didn't we raise what we're paying Aspire for them to take on the position last November?
We did, but I don't think that effort is going to be sufficient, because even with that, Jessica's still doing 25 to 30 hours a week.
But
Yeah.
we're already paying Aspire for what Jessica's doing now?
But the difference in, even if we put Aspire back to where they were, the difference is not enough to pay another person. Nobody would take a job for that money.
No, I think what he's asking is that the idea was on temporary basis that we would up Aspire's time commitment, and we did. It's not sufficient for what we need to do, and we knew that that was a temporary thing, that it wasn't gonna be something that we could do ongoing. Because as Matt said, you can't have the person who's responsible for doing the reconciliation actually doing the transactions, and that's what would be happening, or is happening on some level with Aspire.
If things don't change, the report we just saw, we were at a $87,000 loss at the end of the year.
6 months. That's just 6 months worth of.
Yeah. And so I wonder if we hire this, if that's just going to increase that deficit. If we hire this position. That after we, just had to lay off several to better our.
That number does not include the recent RIF.
Actually, it does. I
For
forget.
December? Those numbers are through December.
No. I'm sorry, I thought you meant the other thing where I broke down the costs, on the board report. That number did include the recent reduction, and we were still left in negative $180 a month without paying essentially any other bills.
I feel like we spent so much time and energy getting caught up and getting all the information of just where we are financially, and now we have that. I feel like it's a disservice to the school to not hire someone to now come in and manage it and help us.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a financial guru. This is not my expertise. Not that I'm grateful for all the work that Jessica has been doing. I don't know where we'd be without, your generosity to come and help and work. But again, it's not your job. And I understand that this also, puts us in another financial dilemma, but where will we be if we don't have, someone with the proper credentials to guide us and lead us? That's our job, is oversight. So
Right.
I'm all for it.
I don't think there's anybody here that doesn't want that.
That's true.
It's just, are we willing to take on the extra debt for it? I certainly absolutely want it as well, get the best that we can.
So,
But, so I just don't know, again, this is just me, that's just where I'm playing, which way, and I see those numbers, and I don't want our cash deficit each month to be so overwhelming that we miss.
we're in a position now where we owe a great deal of money to a great number of people. I am regularly getting emails from people threatening either to cut off their services or send us to collections. Someone with different background than I am is not going to be able to change where we are. We get X number of money in, and we send X number of money out. There's no, right now, there's no magic to it. It is. And it's balancing, keeping everybody happy with what little we can give them while we work through this. And I must just be very fiscally conservative when I'm not any other aspect of my life, but I just cannot justify spending what I know I would charge to do what I'm doing to anybody else right now. I mean, this is...
And that's the same thing I'm struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, I know what I make for what I do, and I know we can't afford that.
I think there's also.
I need to come back because we're focused on the immediate. The day-to-day, someone dealing with the vendors and someone sending out the checks and someone making deposits and someone doing the data entry. I am trying to help the group understand that this is a larger issue than just that function of paying bills and making deposits. It's a much bigger issue that we need to fix. And so it's, again, if we put a solution together that deals with the minimum, then we're in another situation where we have a problem. And don't want to keep going back to the audit, but that's what we did. We put a solution in to deal with the minimum. And this is what happened.
Was it called out in the audit? Was this not having a permanent full-time or permanent part-time?
No. What was called out in the audit was the procedures that were not followed or adhered to. And I want to make a point that this is not, the things that were found in the audit is not something that has happened in the last 6 months or 9 months. I mean, this is ongoing, right? I mean, this is years and years of things that were called out in the audit. So I'm not trying to blame anyone. I'm just saying that for all of those years, we made these kinds of decisions, and this is what happened. It is short-sighted to say, well, we have someone who can do this and this and that, and not look at the broader ramifications of not having, again, nothing against Jessica at all. Appreciate all the work that she does, but not having a professional doing that work.
I apologize again for interjecting, but you both started making very cogent arguments. You're making very cogent arguments, and what I'm not hearing is creative solutions, no, okay?
Mario,
Spot on.
You got to please.
Well, you guys are going back and forth, and what
I
you're
know,
saying
it's
is very
frustrating to
important.
sit there and listen to us do this, but it
important.
is necessary.
It is, well, I agree with you, Clayton, 100%. I also agree with Jessica in that vein. But what I am thinking, maybe a pro bono accounting firm or something.
If we had everyone in the audience decide to reject, we'd have complete. I understand your, emotional concern, but we can't do this. We can't do this anymore.
I just want to know, will there be a moment for the audience to ask questions about the things you guys discussed?
Public comment.
That's public comment, okay, so
Send us an email.
whenever I
Yes,
see it.
Mario, that's what you can do.
Take
That's what you can, send me an email.
I got notes, yeah.
Yeah, I will listen and read everything you send me. I promise you that.
Well, if the
But
forum
we
is
gotta get
next
back
meeting, talk
to
about
it.
everything, I'll do that.
We gotta get back
It's
to it.
open meeting law.
Yeah.
Open meeting law, it's not, they're just abiding by open meeting law.
I
But
understand that,
I
but
get
their
not
open meeting
feeling
law
hurt.
has got us in this position.
No, I get it. Not having a proper town hall where we can actually have those kinds of discussions.
Okay. Can we
But by all
get,
means,
can we get back to,
Yeah.
can we get back to it? Where were we?
Okay.
I want to just reiterate what you're saying, Clayton. I am here for the big picture. I've sat in that crowd for a long time and watched this stuff and seen this stuff, and I have the same observations as you do, that this is a bigger picture problem. And there are also things that, yes, are being done on the day-to-day, but things like, collecting donation fees and aftercare fees and the private preschool fees. Nobody on the board wants to do that. We'll do it because we have to, because we don't have someone that we're paying right now to do it. But I bet if we had someone who was objective in the office saying, hey, you have a bill, you have to pay this, you have to pay for aftercare, your kid can't go unless you pay, we'd be in a different spot. I mean, those are not all, the only issues that we have with our finances, but it's certainly a big portion and something that will continue forever while we're here. We need somebody who's a professional, whose job it is to do that.
So is that the, sometimes you look at roles and you say, well, this person, the role will pay for itself. Because the person will hire another salesperson and they'll increase revenue to the firm, and that way they'll pay for themselves. Is that the idea here, by bringing somebody in, amongst other things, they could increase our collections, kind of an ugly way of saying it, but our collection to bring in, that would at a minimum pay for themselves, plus all the other benefits we would get from having someone know the policies and procedures, follow them, separate from the board, et cetera, et cetera.
So I want to get credit here, because I could lie and tell you, yes, they're going to pay for themselves, but I don't really believe that. What I think that we get from doing this is the things that the last part that you mentioned about the adherence to policies and procedures, the regulatory compliance, just the professional management of our finances, so that there is some comfort that these things that are supposed to happen are happening. I mean, if you go back to the audit and read some of those things that were missing in one of the things that we got dinged on, those are systemic issues. And almost none of the things in the audit that we got dinged on are going to be things that Jessica's gonna address in her effort of managing the cash and doing and paying and working with the vendors. None of those things are addressed in that effort.
Clayton, I think everybody agrees with you on the big picture
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of getting this done correctly and making sure we have somebody who knows what they're doing so we don't find ourselves in the same boat we're in today, 3 years from now. But we do have an immediate short-term problem of how do we fix that right now? Because it sounds like you're saying we need to get somebody in there today. And I think we all agree we would benefit from having someone in there today.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see a way to make that happen today, based on what I'm hearing. So is there a way that we can have a 6-month plan to get somebody in? Can we evaluate this as part of the next budget process for the next fiscal year, where we can figure out a way to work it into the budget somehow so that this is somebody that essentially we have a plan for somebody to take over the job that Jessica's doing and do all the compliance and those sorts of issues that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really reasonable. It does. I didn't say that. So I'm gonna dig a little deeper here. As an organization, we are exposed currently because of regulatory issues that are ongoing, that need to be managed, fixed, and managed. So waiting 6 months, I don't think it's an option. I don't think that we have an audit, the one that we just had, which we were a step away from losing our charter, right? And we don't say, okay, well, maybe we should get a professional accountant to manage these finances. I don't see how we don't make that choice.
It wasn't a guarantee that we'd lose our charter. It was a possibility.
With a
Yes.
okay.
It was, I mean, and we've already, correct me if I'm wrong, Christy, we've already started working with Brett on this next audit.
Yes.
And I may have misread it, so please feel free to correct me if so. But in most of his points in the audit, we already have been working on resolution and changing the processes. I mean, the biggest part of the audit, as I understood that we were in trouble for, was not having documentation. And that's different, and we changed how that was done in January, or I'm sorry, when did that change? Last January? And none of his findings from January through June, through the end of June, and the sampling, were that we couldn't provide the backup. We had the backup after the process was changed. Who are we gonna stop paying so that we can pay another person? I mean, the toilet paper people are threatening to put us on hold. So I hear you and I understand. But there's literally no money there to pay for it. And I don't know what to do about that.
All right, so what do we want to do?
I like Gregory's suggestion of push it out a few months. Let's see how the next few months go. We've just made some difficult choices to the faculty and staff. Let's see how things go for a few months and we revisit the question. Not a year from now, a few months from now.
And what does that get us?
Hopefully time to come up with some more money.
Also gives us time to explore what I think is a later topic, which is around strategic planning. Well, yes, I'd say this role is a priority. Is it the top priority? I just don't know. I'm not.
I really don't see how it can be. I seriously, I don't.
Well, like so I would agree that finance issues are the top priority. Is this the best way to spend more than a few $1,000 a month? I'm just not sure. I'm not in a position to be totally confident. I'll be more confident about that in a few months.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Mr. King?
I take it out about another month, there's something that's, on the payroll. We'll have some information read, but I'm not willing to carry this out too much longer without having another layer of protection. And finances, I mean, I appreciate what you're doing, but it's not really about you.
I agree.
You know, I mean, we're so grateful that
I would love not to do this. So it's
you're
really
keeping
not
us
bad.
afloat, but there has to be insulation. The wires are too thick.
John?
Yes, sir.
Not you, the other John.
Oh,
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Thoughts?
I would love to be able to get someone in. I understand exactly what, the need is and even the urgency for it. But I just have a hard time justifying going deeper in depth for it at this time.
Okay. So this is not a vote, but I'm assuming that most would like to wait a month or so. Is that correct?
It certainly helped the decision if we could see, an uptick in revenue coming in and, a little bit rosier picture.
Okay.
That would.
So this is a democracy, so we'll wait. I do want to make a point. I think this is a horrible decision.
There, in this case, okay, we have two right decisions. Getting someone is absolutely the right decision. Saving the money is absolutely the right decision.
Okay.
Well, what about this? It's an extraordinarily tight labor market right now. We don't even know if there's a person out there who can fill this position, unless you have somebody in your back pocket.
No.
So it doesn't cost us anything to post a job posting, or it will cost very little. So why don't we get that process started, and we can at least get some resumes in the door, so that a month from now, we're positioned to make a fast decision instead of having to wait another month or longer.
We good with that? You're not?
I'm good with that.
Matt, why aren't you good with that?
Well, I like the idea, but 2 weeks ago we did layoffs. it's a tough thing to come out right after that with a child. I'm not sure that's right for the school. So I understand the logic of it. I think waiting a month or two would do us all a world of good.
Well, maybe just coming back with some research next month to say this is how much we believe the position would cost, and we can get an update on like fundraising status, how much we've earned, and just have more information next month.
Yeah, I don't think we're shooting ourselves in the foot or taking an irreconcilable position if we say, wait a couple months.
Okay. I reiterate, it's a horrible decision. But let's move on. Goals and objectives. Did everyone have an opportunity to look at that? Let me get back to them. Before we move on with that, let me ask this one question. Let's say Jessica decides tomorrow, I'm not going to do this anymore. Then what?
No different than any other employee resigns, walks out the door.
Do you hire another person to do it?
Of course I am.
I cannot find that. Does anybody have any thoughts about the strategic plan?
Oh, wait, are we talking potential goals or strategic plan?
Oh, I'm sorry. Goals. Yeah, did anyone have any thoughts on the goals?
I did, so obviously this was made a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when, let's say, you know, if we implement this now, when would we get our first report? In June from the executive director? Is that what we would be saying? Because we haven't been doing it all along this year.
Well, let's talk, see if the goals are actually appropriate, because these were set a while ago. Where are they?
We sent them all in one email.
Yeah.
This one's called Potential Goals for the ED 2019-2020.
Are you looking at the strategic plan spreadsheet or the? I know the one you said, I just want to make sure I'm on the same page as Clayton.
Yeah, there were a couple things. There was the strategic plan, which is very old. I mean, I think that is about 1.5 years since we addressed that. And then there were goals and objectives, and that was, we were supposed to implement, we were discussing them for this year, and we never got back to them. But I think it's appropriate for us to discuss them. I don't know if it's for the next 6 months, for the last half of the year, or maybe even going into the next year. So the first goal was the organizational structure. Christy had done the LDC. It was implemented in May or June. And then the next step of that particular goal was to talk about the remainder of the structure of the administrative or the management structure. So let's start there.
So that was my question, was are we gonna get are we saying we want a report for the first semester? Or are we saying from now on, we want it, our first report should be in June? Because that's what this says, there will be an organizational, a report, December and June. Obviously, we passed December, so is that just a wash, and now we're starting with June?
Last year.
Yeah, I know, so that's what I'm saying, is what is our plan for right now?
Which is why in my report I really
Yeah, you
didn't take
mentioned-
much of it, but I just said these are the goals that I think are still attainable and can be reported on for the rest of the year, school year, but obviously.
Oh, yeah, and I see that those months were taken out.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. I'm a details person, so I'll cross it off on my. No worries.
All right, so I'm gonna go through these really fast and see if they still make sense. So there was, the goal was to bring DMS into compliance in the hiring of teachers and take the necessary steps to correct deficiencies, develop a fundraising and business development plan, facilitate the development of a comprehensive plan for property improvements, mentor and development of a plan for high school enrollment, review administrative operations and adjust processes as appropriate to ensure compliance, and develop a corrective action plan to address low proficiency in testing and support teachers, operations, parents, policies, and procedures consistently followed, discipline, mission and vision development, and continue to drive daily operations of school. So, I guess the question is, and I set these out because they are very ambitious and there was a lot there. So is there something in this document, or some things in this document that we can pull out as priorities and set them for goals or objectives for the next 6 months? I guess is the question.
Were there any that you cut from the report?
I moved the fundraising ones over to the board fundraising committee, but
Okay.
they're not.
Okay, that's what, I'm like, these look very
Yeah.
the same. I had some questions about them. I certainly would love to see, compliance and hiring teachers, and what it says, take necessary steps to correct deficiencies in existing staff members and credentials. I would love to see added to that, like, to have a plan in place too, or a procedure, or just to let us know, like, okay, the teachers who are out of compliance, this is how long they have to take their test, and, whatever, just so that we, as a board, know what steps are being taken.
Well, and I think that we were looking at that from just having a framework. We didn't need to know the nuts and bolts about
Okay.
who was in that process, but here's a framework for doing this. And Christy, you have something close to that,
Yeah,
right?
one of this is already going on.
Right.
Okay. So what else do you think that we, and this was just a guide. I mean, if someone had other things that they thought might be appropriate to put in as a guide.
To be honest with you, I've been reading this again, all of the things on this list still seem relevant to me for the most part, and things that we ought to dig deeper into and make sure that they're happening. But are you saying, what, 2 or 3 things on this list can we pull out?
When we started this, we were going to prioritize these, and then we were going to provide the top 3 or 5 to Christie and have some measurements and some reporting on that. And that just never really, that didn't happen. So what I am suggesting that we do now is that, but on a shorter time frame. And some of this may spill into the next school year. But some of them may be priorities now. I mean, the thing that I think about is the hiring of teachers, the marketing plan for the high school, and the administrative operations, and adjust as appropriate. So when we started this, there were people working in the office and administration. So I think, well, I think that we still need to have a plan as to how we're going to restaff that effort, because we can't go without it. So.
Well, I mean, part of that is money. And if we want to pull something out as a priority, I mean, having the executive director participate in fundraising efforts, and I'm not trying to knock Christie for anything that she has done or has not done in the past, but if we can pull her into fundraising in a more meaningful way so that the person leading the school on a day-to-day basis is also the face of the person asking for money, that is something that Tyson, for example, has emphasized from his professional fundraising standpoint as like one of the key components of effective fundraising.
So, but the goal there was to develop a fundraising plan.
Haven't we talked in the past about having someone come on to work with the fundraising and pay them almost like a commission?
I think someone did raise that. Wouldn't have been me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. But, yeah, I think that did come up. I don't, did anybody, maybe that was that Natalia? No, it was Julie. You're right, it was Julie.
No, I'm talking a year plus ago.
Oh. I don't know. The problem with those kinds of things is that you hire a gunslinger and they wind up corrupting your organization because they're motivated by earning money and not necessarily pushing your mission. So it's hard for you to say, no, you can't do this fundraiser around Disney characters because that is not part of what we do when they're being paid based on their being paid based on commission. So what we had talked about doing was having a full-on developed plan and then bringing someone on to run that plan, to just say, here's what we want to do. Here are the activities that we want you to manage and do, and run with that. But we didn't get to that either. All right, so what do we want to do about the goals and objectives and the strategic plan? I mean, it is, oh, we're not that bad.
Where would you put fiscal plan more broadly. Like have a, create a budget, have a plan, have the plan be one that is balancing income and expenses. Meeting all of our obligations.
Well,
Fundraising is a component of that.
Fundraising is a component
High
of
school
that.
enrollment is a component of that, but the broader topic, I think, is the financial.
So the financial plan, and we gotta go back, because we do a financial plan every year, we do a budget. And that budget has to make sense, and we have to present it to the state, and they have to say, yeah, this totally makes sense. When you look at what we plan to do, from a standpoint of the budget, we have stayed, for the most part, within that plan. What happened is that we had these things that happened from a cash standpoint. From an attendance, we lost $60,000 because because we had such a poor attendance record, and then that continues to impact us monthly. We had a situation where we were not billing folks for aftercare and private pay and all those sorts of things for a long period of time, and so we lost out on that. So we've been impacted from just by circumstance, more than $100,000. So it wasn't as if we didn't bump into this and we didn't have a plan. We just had all these things that happened. And not to beat this dead horse, but the $41,000 that we didn't bill was because we didn't have a person in the office that was doing the accounting work to get it out. So, so the goals, we can get back to that. Does anyone, Christy, what do you think about the goals that are listed?
I feel like the ones that I pulled and put into my report are attainable.
Okay.
As was mentioned, a lot of them have already been in place and being developed throughout the year. So I feel like it's just really a wrap up of a lot of these, just to get those procedures to the board and be able to check off and say, yes, this is done, this is done, this is done. I mean, it's really that close.
Okay, so where you have listed underneath the performance indicators, you feel are attainable and you're working towards?
Correct.
Even the CAP, the corrective action plan.
I think that, we've been working on that, and we've been implementing strategies throughout the school year to try to improve those scores. And yes, I mean, I can put that into a report.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on those goals? Anything you want to see added? And it doesn't have to be from the list.
Well, I think Matt made a good point that getting the financial house in order probably ought to be on the list from a big picture perspective, and I'm not sure how to phrase that goal so that it's achievable and fair and realistic, but it seems like something that...
All right, so let's flesh that out. Getting the financial house in order, what does that look like?
I think we've got to find a way to at least be cash flow neutral, not losing money every month. stretch goal to be cash flow positive. Finding a way to fund all the positions that we need at the school, including bookkeeper, teachers, support staff, the admin, support staff. And that doesn't necessarily mean implementing all of them, but coming up with at least a plan.
Okay, so when you say support staff, do you have, so we have the bookkeeper.
And like you point out, I think that's probably the most critical one, in short and long term, to add.
So instead of listing positions, we admin staff to do what? Let's talk about work to be performed. So financial management. What else do we need?
Wouldn't that be a question best for Kristen, who's running that area? I don't know what she needs.
My question is to the entire room. Well, this part of the room.
Christy, what support do you need in the office, in administration? The support that you need in administration.
Well, we need someone to do the bookkeeping.
Right.
We need someone to help out administratively supporting the LDC, this role, as well as the teachers. So, a lot of clerical work, administrative work, almost like an executive assistant. But beyond that, I don't think there's much more needed.
Do we need a facilities manager? Somebody to take care of stuff?
I don't know if that really, I haven't thought of it through that lens, but my on-the-spot answer would be no. I think that we've got a good setup with our maintenance folks, and then Mr. Tanner has been the coordinator, so for any, big projects, and then we do have to reestablish the site committee, whatever that's going to look like. So I think once you get that committee in place, it will help drive the facilities management and help prioritize. And that wouldn't be a paid position, it would be a committee.
Okay, so restate this goal. To get financial house in order, measure would be cash flow neutral. Stretch position is cash flow positive.
And there's two components to that, right? There's the managing the expense side of it, but also doing things to maximize revenue.
Okay. And then another piece of that is securing funding to add back admin staff and some of the activities needed to be done administratively is financial management, admin support to support teachers and other executive work, executive administrative work. What else?
From an administrative side, I also see, handling social media and the online content under that position, but I can't think of anything else that would really be needed with the current structure.
Okay,
Administratively anyway.
what other measures are for the financial house in order? I mean, it's, so, what?
Well, our audit every year should be at, unqualified status. The top one.
Yeah, that's an aspiration. So the measure is that our audit should be clean,
You have no qualifications.
Right.
Unqualified.
It may take.
so how do we get there? To a clean audit? What do we do to get to a clean audit?
Right, well, that'd be part of creating the plan. Right. Creating the financial plan would include the steps to get there.
Okay. Is there any other measures for getting the financial house in order?
It's a question, other than the audit, are there other compliance issues? And if so, we want those to be on the right side of compliance.
Okay, so compliance,
I don't know what-
internal and external compliance. So whatever our policies are internally and whatever we have to live up to externally. Okay. So let me restate. As a goal to get the financial house in order, I'll come up with something more clever to say about that, to title that. And what that means is we measure it is that the cash flow is neutral. Stretch goal is the cash flow is positive. And additionally, we would, measure would be securing funding the staff administrative positions, a clean audit and compliance with internal and external policies and or regulations. Sound good?
Piece of cake.
Right. Anything else we need to add? So when we understand that this is an ED goal, right? This is a Christie goal. Do you have anything to say about that?
I don't think it's solely Christie. I mean, our ultimate responsibility is the fiduciary.
Yeah, but we don't have operational goals. The board can't have an operational goal.
Okay.
So getting the financial house in order, including addressing the deficiencies in the audit, which the audit report already identifies what needs to be fixed, and it has been, like Jessica said, since January 2019, so check.
Right.
But beyond that, there still has to be an interplay between the board and fundraising efforts and marketing and outreach and building up that net income before we can move forward with any hiring. So it's certainly a long-range goal.
Okay. So that's not a measure to get the financial house in order. Is the securing the funding to add back administrative staff.
I think it would be a collaborative effort. It's not something that administration could do to secure funding.
Okay.
I guess my question is around the time frame. So if we said, hey, this is the goal
Yeah.
by June 2020, I'd say probably not reasonable or possible.
Well, but that's what we're working on is 6 months.
That is not reasonable or possible.
Right.
So getting the financial house in order is,
I'd say what I want to see by June is the plan to get there. The plan, I mean, that's the way most of these are phrased, is develop a plan, develop a plan, develop a plan. So what I'd say our oversight role would be that the administration should come up with a plan. And then we assess the plan, and then we hold the administration accountable.
okay, so a plan to get the financial house in order would be an ED responsibility.
So we're talking beyond beyond the goals. We've moved off of the goals that were identified in the report.
No, I asked about other goals.
Okay,
That weren't
so this
identified,
is
and
in
this is-
addition, okay,
this
we
is
have
in
not
addition.
moved over to this.
No, that's the
Okay.
strategic plan, that is kind of long
Gotcha.
range, a year and a half or so, but this is goals for the second half of the year. So the plan, so the goal for the ED is to develop a plan to get the financial house in order. And then, so how are we gonna measure?
One second. How are we gonna measure whether or not she gives us a plan?
What does the plan have to contain? What does it have to achieve? What is it about? A plan to do what?
I think, didn't you kind of just list all that when you listed what that would look like?
Yeah, but she said that was too much.
No, I think she said it was too much to get it in,
To
correct me if I'm
implement.
wrong, to get it in order by June 2020, not get a plan in order by June 2020.
To implement the plan, not to get the plan together,
Okay.
yeah.
So all those other things could be the plan to get to cash neutral, the plan to raise revenue, to add back administrative staff?
Yes.
And maybe we could say June 30 is too far out, maybe we'd like to see that a little sooner than June 30. But it's a lot to ask.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think in line of when you start your budgeting process in this one.
No, in a month. Well, in a few weeks, actually.
It feels like
February.
so next month,
Mm-hmm.
it would benefit the group to have that information, at least an idea of what that plan is gonna look like. So that's, I agree.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but, I mean, this could be a work in progress that we can look at on the way to a final plan,
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It has to be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're anticipating, if you give us one thing at one board meeting and we say yay or nay and run with it. So-
No, and I'm not trying to get to that. We are identifying goals for the next 6 months, and I want to be sure that we clearly understand what those goals are. So this goal about the financial house is to have a plan in place to achieve a cash flow neutral, cash flow positive, so I don't think that the admin staff and the financial management, is that reasonable? Okay, for 6 months? Because it is just a plan. Right? And then compliance with internal and external rules and regulations.
And I think that's something that you've been working on regarding employment, at least, 'cause in the 301 meetings, I know that comes up a lot.
Well,
That hiring is happening according to the posted job requirements, instead of putting job requirements and hiring whomever shows up first.
certainly in hiring and a lot of the HR functions within the office. That helps with not only the audit, to get a good audit, to make sure our files are in order, our house is in order, but also impacts licensing in the private care program. So yes, that has been in progress. Same with the statutory requirements of having the teachers evaluated and ensuring that there is a plan for those who want to be eligible for certain things, to get the information to become highly qualified, what that is, what that means, how it impacts them. So yes, that's been in progress for almost a year. Well, probably a year. January 2019.
Okay, any more goals? Okay, so in addition to the goals that are outlined in Christie's report this month, we've added a new goal, a plan to get the financial house in order. And again, I'll change that title. And
In addition to the thing you sent out, or in addition to her report?
her report, she has the goals listed in her monthly report. And I will get this back or out for review.
Chrissy, when did you anticipate the audit that we're starting now to be completed?
For this year,
Yeah,
June 30th?
it'll be done before the school year's over?
No, it won't be done before the school year's over.
I mean, before the fiscal year, because the fiscal
Correct.
year goes through the
But
end
that's
of
how
June.
it's supposed to, yeah.
Okay, so it should be done at the end of June, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Before by the end of the fiscal year, so yes,
What are we talking about?
The current, the audit we're starting right now?
for 1920.
The financial audit?
Yes.
How are you gonna audit before the year ends?
Because he pulls randomly from the fiscal year. So he can start pulling, start his assessment and his evaluation, and ideally it's supposed to be done by the end of your fiscal year. He just sent out the notification saying it's time to start. We've been late over the past couple of years.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense to me. That you would start to audit before the year is over.
Well, a lot of the things that he's looking at, you pull random samples.
Well,
so that
he's
means-
starting the testing now, is
Correct.
what you mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
the static things, like, yeah, the testing that he can do for the past 6 months of the fiscal year, looking at the files, looking at our record keeping, things like that.
Okay. Any, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one addition I would have to this maybe, especially being in the last 6 months of the year leading up next year, would be something to do with, the enrollment, increased enrollment, recruitment.
It's in there.
Is it? Not on Christie's, I think it was on ours, but I was looking at the one that Christie, so.
Christy, you put the one on there for high school, right?
I didn't see it, but I may be missing it.
I thought I read it there, but maybe I didn't.
If it is in the works, I'm just saying, I think that would be an important one to put in there.
Okay.
And
That doesn't make sense, huh? Well, you're already working on it.
Okay. I am going to propose that we table the strategic plan until next month. Anybody have any objection to that?
Wait, do we need a motion or vote on anything we just talked about for goals?
No. No. Okay, so if we table, we're going to table the strategic plan. And that's out of order. Do we have any announcements? Parent Council, you have an event coming up when?
January 31st is our s'mores.
Okay. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about? The 100-day, that's gonna happen before we meet again?
Next week.
Next Wednesday. You wanna talk about what you guys are doing, Christy?
Tacos, that's what I heard.
Well, each class is working on their own activities.
Oh, which class is doing tacos?
Well,
Oh,
we're all
okay.
doing it.
All right. Anything else? Anybody want a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn?
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? Any discussion? We're adjourned.